Hello everyone, how you all going? I'm Onita, and I hope you have all had a fantastic Christmas. I know I did. It was the best Christmas I've had in a very, very long time, which I'm really happy about that because it's been a while since I've actually enjoyed a Christmas. Let's talk about my 2026 beginning of the year TBR. So the months I am looking at is January to April. That's what I really consider beginning of the year. That's what with the research I've done, that's pretty much what I've seen, that beginning of the year is pretty much January to April, and that's what I'm going to go with. I want to keep the books, this little stack of books that I'm going to be talking about, these stack of books that I'm going to be reading throughout January to April, pretty short, because of the fact that I do have family coming over from Italy in January and February. They're actually arriving a day before my birthday, so that's actually really awesome. So they'll be staying for 2 months, January and February, so I don't know how much reading I'll get done with them around. So I want to keep this stack of books short for the beginning of the year. So the first one, actually let's just talk about the books that I read for that taste test reading vlog that I did about whether or not I know my taste in books. Let's just quickly go through them. So we have Wolfden by Elodie Harper. This is to do with the brothels and the prostitutes in Pompeii and how we are following one main character that wants to buy her freedom. We then have Girl on the Walls by A.J. News. This one is about a young girl that is literally living in the walls of this house, and these two young boys that are legally living in this house have found out that there is a young girl, uninvited, living in the walls of their house. Sister Song by Lucy Holland. This one I'm still kind of struggling to try and tell you what it's about, but from what I know, it's about three sisters. The magic in their land is slowly dying because Christianity is taking over the villages, essentially. So these three sisters try to take and bring the magic back to their homeland. It does deal a lot with English history because it does talk about the Saxons. Okay, let's talk about the other two books I have. I have 5. I do have some books on my fantasy bingo board that I don't want to talk about in this video, but it is something I am participating in and I am a little bit behind in that. But I don't really want to talk about those books. I don't want to overwhelm myself for the new year, because if I were to talk about the books I have on my Reddit fantasy or fantasy bingo board, we could be here for a very long time because I've not done too well with that reading bingo board challenge so far. Let's talk about the recent purchase, okay? We have Mad Mabel by Sally Hepworth. This is signed by the author, which is really awesome. I don't think I could do a good job at rehashing or trying to explain what this book is about, so I'm going to tell you what it says on the back of the book. In 1959, at just 15 years of age, Mabel Waller became the youngest Australian in history to be convicted of murder. In 2025, on a quiet Melbourne lane, an elderly man is found dead by his neighbour, 81-year-old Elsie Fitzpatrick. No one suspects any foul play until they discover Elsie's past. In the 1950s, her name was not Elsie, it was Mabel. She is known around the world as Mad Mabel, but is she mad? More importantly, is she guilty? When the police open a new investigation and the media descend upon her, the elderly Mabel decides it's time to set the record straight. In a world first, at the age of 81, Mabel Waller is speaking. New York Times bestselling author Sally Hepworth is at her finest in this twisty, compulsive thriller of friendship, family, and murder. Or is it justice? I read like the first page of this at the bookshop, and this character is so snarky. She's so sarcastic, so snarky. It's actually really quite hilarious. I don't know if we're following her past as well when she was 15 years old, but I do know we do follow her when she's an elderly lady, when she is 81. And I'm so excited for this one. I do know that Australian authors do release their books earlier in Australia than the rest of the world, which is why I have my hands on this copy. And I'm excited for it. I've heard really good things about it. It seems to be quite a good book from what I know. I've heard of Sally Hepworth before, I just haven't really read too many of her books. But I do have a bit of an interest. There were some other books by Sally Hepworth that I did have my eye on, but this one is going to be the first one from them, and I'm excited about it. And I don't feel you see too many green books on a cover, like this is so striking. This last one I have heard nothing but exceptional things about, not just about this book, but this author. Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wang. I first heard about this author and her exceptional world building. Oh, that's my dishwasher. I was thinking, what the heck is that? Okay, it's done now. I've heard of the Sword of Kaigen. That was the first time I've heard about this author. And that book, Sword of Kaigen, is said to be like amazing. Sword of Kaigen is her indie published book. This one is her traditionally published book. Now, I did read the plot of this book, but I'm not going to do a good job at trying to rehash it, try and talk about it. But I know that we follow Sayona, and she is wanting to be the first, is it the first mage? The first female, the first woman to be admitted to the High Majesty at the University of Magics and Industry. But instead of being buddied up with another student that knows things about the magics and the industry, she ends up getting paired up with a janitor, and this janitor has a bit of a backstory to him. I think his land was ravaged or something. Yeah, the janitor was a nomadic hunter who lost his family on the perilous journey from the wild plains to the city, but now he sees the opportunity to understand the forces that decimated his tribe, drove him from his homeland, and keep the privileged in power. It does sound fantastic. I've heard nothing but exceptional things about this book, and I've heard that Sayona as a character, you do dislike her in the beginning, but then as the book goes on, as you continue to read more, you do end up liking her a bit more, and she does have a bit of character growth, character development, so I'm really looking forward to reading that. These are the little stack of books that I think I should be able to read during those 4 months, with more books set to be read. Hopefully more books set to be read if I can really buckle down. But I should be able to read them. Like I've said earlier in the video, I do have Reddit fantasy books, like the Reddit fantasy bingo books. I do have some of those. I'm hoping either at the end of April or the beginning of May, I do want to have a big wrap up or a wrap up style thing talking about the books that I read from January to April. Monthly wrap-ups don't work for me anymore, but I still want to talk about the books I've read, because I may not read books in reading vlogs. I may read books outside of reading vlogs just for me, and I want to talk about them. So that's the plans. That's what's pretty much going to be happening. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know, what books are you going to be reading in the month of January, February, March, April? Have you not even thought that far ahead? Or just what books are you going to be reading for the beginning months of the year? Let me make it more simple. What books are you going to be reading in the month of January? Have any of these books I've talked about interested you? And I will see you in another video. Bye for now.